Yeah, you're on mute, but that might be how you planned.
Yeah, I'll be on mute.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I think people are still joining here.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, welcome.
Can you see me? It's Wendy.
I see a big red square.
Not sure why.
Well, do you have anything? Do you have anything blocking your video? Do you have anything over your?
I do. I'm sorry.
Yay!
Hi.
Hi there. And now you look like a person.
Yes.
So cool. And hi, James.
Hello, Laura. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? So I see we have Linda there. Hang on a sec. So I think people might still be joining. Yeah, I did not send out a reminder for this. I mean, I sent out that we're, when I sent out my meeting notes from before, I said we're going to meet again. I did not do a reminder, but anyway. And I'm not sure who, and I have to keep an eye on who's joining, but I see a LINDS, and that, which might be Linda Tiano, I'm not sure. But I see a sleeve. I don't see a whole person, but I see a bit of a sleeve.
It's me, Laura.
Okay. All righty. So you're oh, okay. Oh, Laurie Osmond's joining. Go good. Okay. And I do have my phone. I'm just going to see whether Chris Compton is going to join, because I do have his information. Okay, let's do. Just text him and then we'll get going. So yay, we have 5 members, and John is, I think, just here listening. So these are open meetings, and that's all good. And so what I do have is I do have everybody's email. What I don't have, and I'm realizing because Laurie had just sent me a text and said, or an email saying contact information. I just sent her an email with mine, although Laurie, I don't have yours. This is a recorded meeting, so I don't know if people want to be sending me theirs. But if people could send me phone numbers, I could include it in the, because I have a file for what we're doing as a sign committee. And if people don't mind sending me phone numbers to the lricky@woodstockny.org, then I can add that. And then if I need to reach out to anybody, we can. So that would be a request. And Chris does say he is joining. And I have to keep an eye. Oh, cool. We have Rob Kernet in the waiting room. I have to keep an eye on the waiting room. So, alrighty. So we think we're going to have Chris. So, hi, Rob. And some people I haven't actually met. I think, Wendy, you were not on the first. No, you were on the first call.
Yes, I was.
You were on the first call. And Rob, I don't think you were, though. So I don't know if we've met. Have we met, Rob? And you're on mute. And he's looking for the take me off mute button.
It
I
should be in the bottom left of your own picture by your name. See yourself and see where your name is. There's a little red, I see a little red microphone there. If you click on that, it should unmute you.
Yeah, and I was trying to see if I could send you an invitation to unmute, which might have done the trick. Yeah, and for me on the lower left corner of my screen, I see a mute toggle on off.
Okay,
Yay, yay,
Yay.
Rob. Hi there. So
Hi.
Rob, have we met before?
not officially, Laura.
Not officially. Okay, well, nice to meet you and great to have you here. And I'll still need to check out my screen because when Chris joins. So hey, we have actually a great, I know Connor was interested. Connor does have a day job, so this could be a difficult time for Connor, but Chris does he say he's joining. Other than that, we're all here. Plus we have a guest. So we're all good. So where we are, oh, so Rob, I was just saying to the others as you were joining that if you could send me, well, this is a recorded call. So instead of just telling me over the phone or over the call, over the Zoom, which will be recorded, everybody can listen to it later. If you could send to my lricky@woodstockny.org ID a phone number, and then I can put it, I have a file that I share with everybody from the minutes from before, and then we could contact each other if we needed to outside of email. So, so that's all good. And then, but of course, if you don't want your phone number in the list, maybe just email me that, and then I'll know that it's not there because you don't want it there. So, because privacy is an important thing. So, okay. So in any event, oh, Chris, yay. And I already have Chris's, so I don't need to repeat that request with Chris. Oh, and there's Chris, yay. So, okay. So we're all here with the, as I said, so welcome, Chris, and you are on mute. Just if you wanted to speak, just remember to come off mute. So we're all here with the exception of Connor, who does have a day job, and I'm not sure if he'll be able to join or not. And we also have a guest, John Ludwig, but these are open meetings and it's totally good that we have guests that want to attend. What I will do is I'm going to share my screen and go over, use as a guide where we were before. And so these are the meeting notes that I sent out from before of who all is on our committee. And I can keep meeting attendance by just putting information beyond people's names. So open discussion ideas. We were talking before about sandwich boards. We were talking about business district, because the whole point of this committee is signs. There is a sign law. Woodstock has a sign law today, and the idea is for us to think through: is the current sign law working? And if we think we should make changes to it, what changes should we make and why? And what do we think might not be working? So we talked about sandwich boards, and this is the list of things that we want to be discussing. We did not make any decisions at our last meeting, but the things that on the list of things that we want to discuss: sandwich boards, ramifications of business district versus not business district, in terms of whether we want to whether we want to make any sign law distinctions between which district the sign might be in. A side of a building, you might say, well, the side of the building might constitute a sign, but I've got the Bearsville Bear on the side of the Bearsville building. I think it looks great. I've never measured it, but if somebody wants to paint something on the side of their building, does that require a square foot maximum for a sign? Commercial signs stuck on the road, like the CD sale, whenever there's Memorial Day, Labor Day. I don't know if they're legal or not legal. I don't personally have an issue with them, but do we want to make any statement about them in the sign law? What is the most effective way for sign for businesses on upper floors or in alleyways? Was the question we said, and other signage areas to consider. Home business, lawyer might have a placard on their mailbox. Airbnb, do we want to regulate signs there? Special events such as an art show, you might want to allow a different sign for temporary purposes, although maybe we don't. Again, we didn't make any decisions. These are just topics of discussion. And then we did actually say it's not really our area, but maps of streets and businesses, Chamber of Commerce item, could organize by type of business. Our role is really the sign law in particular. So I listed that, but it's not really something that we have to address. So the next steps that we said before is the purpose of our committee is providing an updated proposed sign law to the town board. Clearly, we're not there yet because we haven't made decisions yet. But the steps that we said, step one really was reach out to Chamber of Commerce to ask members if they have any sign thoughts for us to consider, because we thought an outreach was a smart idea and it made sense that our outreach be the Chamber of Commerce. If people have other outreach ideas that we want to consider, we certainly can consider them. But step one was reach out to the Chamber of Commerce. We'll have decisions on discussions, options, ideas that I just went through the discussion options, ideas, review and update current sign law. So the idea is first we figure out what outreach we're doing. We said Chamber of Commerce, James, to do, listen to what comes back. We'll go through the discussion items that I just went through. And that's what this decision is. We'll go through each one and see what decisions we want to make. And then once we know what our decisions are, run through the current law for the sign law in Woodstock, which is 8 pages, go through each page and say, based on our decisions, what do we need to update? There is the New York State sign guidance document that Chris very helpfully provided that's on my last email to everybody. And then we'll do a final review of the proposed updated law and then present to the town board. So those are basically the steps as I see them. And basically it was all from our discussion last time where this came from. And so we'll go through this list of stuff. I'll make some more notes. Oh, cool. We have somebody else in the waiting room. Let me just see who joined. We have a phone number. I'm not quite sure who that phone number is, but that's okay. So 845. Oh, and something showed up on my thing here. 845-853-2994. Also joined. I'm not sure who that is. A mystery guest, we'll say for the moment. Okay. So anyway, so that's really where we've been and where we're going. So with that, James, do you have information from the chamber? I know you were going to do an outreach and let us know what was said. Is there anything that you wanted to share with us about what you have or have not heard?
I have heard some things back. Let me pull up what I have here. So let's see. Melissa at Hemp and Humanity, she wanted to draft a brief statement about sign use in town. She didn't get that to me yet, though. I told her this week. I kind of
Okay.
today, but she'll get it to me, and I could email that to everybody when I get it.
Okay.
So why don't I do that?
Sure.
Let's see. And then here's an interesting one. I guess this falls under, when I try to break this down into exceptions for sign law. One thing was I divided things into businesses that are challenged by not being direct storefront on like the main street.
Yeah.
This sort of falls into a thing that I didn't even think about, which is actually kind of something I think should definitely be allowed. The Woodstock Yoga Center, they have that small parking lot, and it's for their yoga center. And all summer long, they battle the millions of people who come to go to Mauer's Market and they
sure.
park there. And so they've gone back and forth with the town where they have like an official sort of sign saying no parking allowed except for yoga people, da da da. And
Right.
of course, people just ignore this.
Sure.
So in the past, she's put a sandwich sign, God forbid, a sandwich sign, sort of at the front of that parking lot that repeats that information. And she said that she would get a lot less people parking without permission when that was there. And I think that is just a great like direct visuals when you're pulling into the parking lot of like, oh, whoa, we can't park here.
Right.
So now she's not allowed to use it. And so it's just kind of an unfortunate thing because she's not even on the main street. And it's like, this is just really for like probably summer and fall mainly when it's
Mhm.
so crazy with the parking, and especially early
Right.
morning, a lot of the yoga classes take place and the Mowers Market is happening. So,
Mhm.
that again falls into this idea of exception, and it would, I think, just be kind of a gracious thing of our town to allow her to do that, so she could actually keep the
Right.
parking lot. I mean, it must be, I can't imagine how frustrating it must be to own a parking lot and have like, people using it who aren't supposed to. It must be
Oh,
just
sure,
really
absolutely,
frustrating.
absolutely, right,
So that's an
right.
example. Herwood, let's see. Herwood would like a copy of the current sign usage regulations. I think I have that. Is that something you'd sent? I think Chris
Well,
sent
the
that.
sign, I don't recall if I sent it. It's
Yes.
possible that I did.
You did.
You
I
did?
did.
Okay,
Okay,
I can
thank
look
you.
back
Okay.
then. I'll forward
Okay.
that to her then. Let's
And
see.
it's on the website. If you go to the Woodstock
I thought
NY.
so, yeah. I just thought I'd
Well,
ask.
yeah, but let me just explain in case anybody wants to know. If you go on the woodstockny.website and you look on the left-hand navigator, there's a laws choice. If you go to the laws choice, it will take you to the laws. You wind up having to click on a link and it shows you a map of the United States. You click on New York State, and then within New York State, you scroll down to the Woodstock laws, you pull it up, you can search on signs and you can find the sign section. So all laws are accessible through the Town of Woodstock website.
Okay, if I can't find what you sent, I'll just find it on the website and send her a link to that.
Yeah, okay.
Let's see, and then the only other, I just had some back and forth with some other businesses that were just kind of wanting to stay in the loop about it all. I did have, I had some people bring up the idea of, not wanting the sidewalks to be too overly cluttered, and that's obviously why we're looking at doing exceptions, but not just blanket,
Right.
like opening up the floodgates to anything. And that's what I've heard so far. I could hear more, and if not, I'll definitely pass along what Herwood was wanting to
Right.
make a statement about.
Okay.
Hey, Laura,
Yes.
could I jump in too? Because I had some conversations with business owners along with James, and I could just share those real quick.
Oh, sure. Excellent.
So yeah, I also spoke with Melissa Gibson. I spoke with Julie, who owns the store in the little building next to the Gilded Carriage, the one that's set way back. She has a sign on a post, which is too high for anybody to read. It's an older sign on an iron, sort of decorative iron post, but it's way above people's view of vision. So she relies on her sandwich board sign to let people know that she is open, because her little shop is set so far back, and she's been putting the sandwich board sign on the lawn, not on the sidewalk. I spoke with Emily Kellogg, who owns the Bon Bon shop on the corner there of by Rock City Road and the Village Green, the little chocolate shop. And they're having a hard time letting people know that they're open. They can't put their chocolates in the window to let people know they're open because they melt.
Sure.
And they have the sidewalk is wider there on Rock City Road, and there's a planter box right up against the building, and they had been putting their sandwich board sign in front of the planter box where it doesn't obstruct foot traffic, and they had been told to take it down. So they were very frustrated because they said when they have been able to put the sandwich board sign out, their business increases exponentially. And just FYI, I did look on the New York State DOT site to see what minimum required sidewalk width was, and it's 48 inches. I have a screenshot that I could share with people of, what 48 inches of unobstructed looks like to the DOT.
Okay. So that's good point. I'm
Could
just
I
making
ask
some notes here.
Could I ask a quick question?
Sure.
What's the history of the 260-31 sign regulations that we're looking at from the town? How old are they? When were they written?
Well, I would have to go into it and see, because sometimes the regulations say right in the regulations.
Oh,
So it may say if we access it, it may. Oh, look at that, 1965. John Ludwig is showing. Says 1965.
so a long time ago.
Yes, correct. Probably longer ago than a lot of Woodstockers have been alive, and longer ago than a lot of Woodstockers have been living here. So it predates me. I moved here in 1980, so it predates me. But that's okay. but yeah, so it's actually good that we take a look at it, I think, because why not, given the age? So so cool.
No,
Cool.
I'm not saying that it's, inherently bad. I was just curious when I was reading it this morning again. That,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
I-
Yeah, well, a lot of times laws do, yeah, a section of a law many times will say right at the start of the section, give the history of it in terms of when it was brought in, and it might even have a town resolution that brought it in, so.
Laura, can I
Yes.
just interrupt quickly with a quick question or a request?
Sure.
Could you reach out to the town and find out over the last 6 months who's received enforcement notices or contacts? So we can see how many people have been most recently affected by any sort of enforcement, be it for sandwich boards or any other kind of sign infractions. I think having that knowledge might help us as a group understand how many locations are being impacted and how many potential violations might exist.
I was
Right.
affected by it. So here's one.
Me
I'm
too.
sorry, what was that again?
I was affected by it since you're asking.
Right.
I'm one.
No, I'm not trying to isolate. I'm trying to get like a gross number as well. I mean, I don't mind individual references like in your case, Wendy. But James mentioned that the yoga parking lot was told, or somehow, I don't know if there was any enforcement there, but maybe there was.
It was.
I think it would be helpful to us as a group, Laura, to understand, what's been cited or what kind of enforcement's taking place. Be
Yeah.
it warning or be it violation or be it, other kinds of contacts. I think it would
Yeah.
just be smart to know, is this happening a lot? Is this unique to certain businesses or certain types of incidents? That we
Yeah.
might have some understanding from the town's point of view, how big an impact this is.
Yeah, yeah. So we could do that. And that would tell us, not only how big an impact it is, but we can tell in a way for whom the sign law is not working. So we're going to have to strike a balance, and that's what I think Woodstock is all about. Is we have to strike a balance because signs help businesses get business, but we can't be having people tripping over signs and breaking their arm or their leg or something. So the balance is going to come to say, where is the sign law working or not working? We do want to help businesses advertise their business, but we want to have it done in a way that works for Woodstock and does not cause a safety hazard or other hazards. So I think that's kind of the goal, is that. So yeah, we can be looking into that. And I'm my own
Laura.
note taker. Yeah, go ahead.
I had a couple of other thoughts. I was thinking one thing that might be helpful, it may not even be relevant, but it might be good to just read through the comprehensive plan, since the comprehensive plan by law is supposed to dictate what our zoning is, to see if there's any mention of anything like that that could be pertaining to sign usage in it. And then the other point, I think, in addition to which businesses have been enforced, I think we should also make note of which has not been enforced. Because there is some selective enforcement going on. For example, the sandwich board sign for the food pantry in front of the Christian Science building is practically taking root.
Right.
So, that is worth commenting upon. And the zoning cannot, I mean, after reading through the New York State document that you sent, zoning cannot discriminate between commercial and non-commercial
Right.
messages. I guess they had a suit with the town of Wyndham over that.
Mm.
And I don't believe that ours does, but the enforcement should be consistent as well.
Right. No, yeah, you're right about that. Well, and the other thing too, I'm making my notes here. But the other thing too that I'll say is when I went to vote, I did early voting in the community center, and by gosh, wouldn't you know, there were 2 sandwich boards. There was one on the lawn, so people driving by could see it, and then there was one right next to the building pointing, go that way to vote. So
I took note of that as well. It was.
yeah, I mean, so it would seem to me, it would seem to me that we, maybe the word is exceptions, but maybe the word is temporary exceptions, but maybe the other thing is, who do we have exceptions in general? Because if you're not going to put your sandwich board on a sidewalk where people can trip over it, if it's on a lawn, if it's on a lawn, maybe that's okay. But we need to, but these are all maybes and we need to discuss, so.
Yeah,
in
and I'd
any
also,
event-
just on that same note, I'd talked to Randy at the Playhouse, and he usually has a sandwich board sign that says show today on his lawn.
Oh, sure,
And
sure.
And really the point of that is, as somebody who also just travels around on weekends to small towns, if I drive
Mhm.
into a town to spend the night and I see show today, what's the show?
Right.
It's a real
Right.
pulls you
Yeah.
right in and makes you go,
Right,
oh wait, let's
right.
look this up and go see the show. So that's where, and it's not on a sidewalk. So
Right,
things like that just seem kind of a little silly to me that he can't do that, and
right.
and it must be frustrating for him.
I
Well-
just had one other comment regarding a lot of the different people's point of view, not to be specific, but I did read through the sign law fairly closely the other day. I don't have any exact recollection of specifics, but there are a lot of options that shops or business owners or property owners have that are flexible and available and perhaps appropriate that they could utilize. For example, Laura, you were talking about the chocolate shop and the issue of having a signboard saying they're open. There are other kinds of signs that they could put up, like a sign hanging in the window that says open, or there could be and I was thinking about James's comments last week when he was saying, how do I let people know X, Y, and Z is open? You could add a piece of a sign or add something that says I'm open or I'm closed in a physical sign format that's not necessarily a sandwich board. Sandwich boards have become kind of conventional status, current contemporary expectation of what a sign might be in a shop being open or not open, or identifying a event today or something like that. But there are a lot of options now. Perhaps the code needs to be adjusted to reflect signboards as part of that messaging. But there are things that people can do that have businesses that are not precluded or excluded from the sign requirements that say you can't do certain kinds of things. So yeah, I would just suggest that when people do have issues with signs, that they review the sign code and just see what, if anything, that's an alternative to a sandwich board, if that becomes the big issue, is available to them. That's just a comment in general. It's not right or wrong from my end.
Well, I think the biggest, the biggest decision, I think that one of the biggest decisions, there could be others, but I kind of think the biggest decision we'll be making is about sandwich boards. Because I don't hear people complaining about, there's the 10 square foot limit of signs. I don't hear people complaining, no, we need a bigger sign than that. And Woodstock really wouldn't want bigger signs than that because we don't want to change the character of Woodstock. But the whole thing about the sandwich boards, I think that that's going to be a big decision for us to make about, do we put some kind of, do we say you can put a sandwich board on a lawn? Do we say that? It's worrisome. I think that we'll want the lawyer to weigh in. If there's ever a time that we say we as a town are going to allow sandwich boards on the sidewalk, I think that we have to have a lawyer weigh in, because we don't want to cause a safety problem. And the worry is that would be a safety problem. But like early voting, I didn't see a problem with the sign in a lawn. And I didn't see a problem with the sign right next to the building pointing. It wasn't on a sidewalk. When people are walking on the sidewalks in the middle of town, I know, I'm getting the sense anyway, that businesses would like to be able to put a sandwich board out on the sidewalk, because then in January, people can see at a glance who's open. And I don't know whether that's something that the lawyer would ever agree is a good idea, because if you do have a sandwich board on the sidewalk, people could always trip over it. So I don't know whether the lawyer would ever agree that that's a reasonable thing to do. So some things, it seems to me, that make sense to go forward to say, yeah, the sandwich board in the lawn, when it's not, it's not a sidewalk, it's not a major walkway. It would seem to me that might be something that a lawyer would say, okay. I'm not sure if a lawyer would ever say, okay, but I'm willing to ask if that's what the group wants. Do we want to be asking the lawyer what they think about a sign in a sidewalk, or do we want to say, no, we never want a sign on a sidewalk? I know Lori raised a really good point about the DOT says your minimum size is 48 inches. So does that mean you can put a sign? We talked last time about whether you can put a sign on a stoop, right? The stoop is not the sidewalk. The stoop is part of your entranceway to your store. It's a step up from the sidewalk, I'm assuming. do we want to allow a sandwich board there?
Right.
So
or like when I spoke with Melissa at Hemp and Humanity, she said, I have a small storefront and I understand people don't want to trip over the sign, but I can take my sandwich board sign, close it and lean it against my building because otherwise people just don't know that I'm open. And I agree. I mean, I wanted to stop and talk to her. And the only way I could tell that she was open when I drove by was because she did have her sign leaning against the building. I think I agree with you that I think sandwich board sign is probably going to be our big conversation because whether you have a sign that says you're open in your window really depends on the vagaries of your architecture. If you have a window that's full of display, or if you have a window that's 40 feet back from the road, it's all hit or miss depending on your building.
Or if you don't have a store, or if you don't have a front window at all.
If you're upstairs,
shows your
exactly.
product. Yeah.
Exactly.
right, right, and you're upstairs, Wendy. I think you were saying, right, Wendy?
Yeah,
you're
you can't know whether I'm open or not unless my sandwich
Right.
board helps.
Right. Right. So yeah, a sign in the front window only helps if you have a front window.
If you have a window in the front that shows that you can look, people can look from the sidewalk into your shop,
Exactly.
and you can see, if that's.
Right. Well, but so safety is going to be the issue for the sandwich boards, though. So that's the thing about whether yeah, I think you can. I've got a kitty walking around on the window outside. She wants to come in, so I may have to get up for just a moment and let her in. So let's just go back for a moment to I'm going to share my screen again.
Elton could also just make a quick appearance.
What's that? The quick appearance?
Oh, sorry. I was answering a text to somebody who's desperate to have this information. I was trying to speak so it'd go faster. I thought I was on mute.
Okay.
Sorry.
So zoning. So I'm trying to find. I had the thing up. Let me go see if I can. Zoning sign committee. That's what I had up. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a file save as. It's just what I do. I never like to overwrite the other file because I like to know what we said before. Changing the name of the thing. So if we were to, so we've had some good discussions. We've had the outreach. So if we move on to decisions on discussion options and ideas, what do we want to say? Do we want to just kind of take these one at a time? Do we want to just dive in and talk about sandwich boards in particular and say what we think about that? And these are all brainstorming comments. I know we have two guests here, and so we're not at the point where we've made any final decisions. We're kind of brainstorming here. So anyway, yeah, because things turn up. Yeah, things might turn up. Oh, next door. Oh, the sign committee wants to do this. So we're really still in a brainstorming. I know, I'm all in favor of freedom of speech. I know people can say anything at any time, but just want to point out the fact that we haven't finalized decisions. We're just brainstorming at this point in time.
And if I could jump in also, what might be helpful as we go through this, I understand that you're updating the documents, but if we had a Google Doc, for example, where everyone could contribute, your particular contributions are, noted as your comments or your notes. You can share it on the screen so everyone can see it and either work live. Or, I know that Chris had put in some work on a document and then shared it, but that is something that could be like a living, breathing thing.
Yeah, I think what Chris shared it came from New York State. I don't think he was, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that you were actually editing that thing. I think what I forwarded that I got from Chris, I think was a New York State document.
Oh,
No.
I heard a no. I heard an O and I heard a no. Anyway.
Anyway, let me chime in, please. Sorry, Laura.
Yes, go
So
ahead.
there are two documents that I forwarded on to you. I don't know if I shared them with the group or whether the group was shared through Laura. The issue is, and I agree with Laura's point, there should be some sort of working platform that we can get, like a shared Google site or something of that nature. I don't know what our normal process is for a committee like this, But that's very doable, I'm sure. And then the other thing is that the two things that I worked on, or at least I looked at, one was the New York State guidance, which was just a recommendation on how to handle signs in terms of the legalistic part of it for communities. And that was just a general reference for everybody to look at. I didn't touch that. And then I did an edit. I think Laura sent it out, edit or a review of the current sign law as it exists.
Oh, right.
Some red comments, which were things that I thought were either ambiguous or unclear, or things that need to be considered or reconsidered on the part of the committee. So that's where I stood with that. The other thing, and I'm just basically listening to everybody's kind of point of view, I'm wondering, I mean, I could help a little bit personally with some graphic representations. And I would like to take, for example, from the crosswalk, on Tinker, let's say all the way down to the intersection, that one sort of main street where James and Wendy have their shops. And just do a graphic representation of a signboard, no signboard configuration, just for visual sense of what's going on. And then the second issue would be, again, simple question like, what's the width of the sidewalk in a particular place, and what are pedestrians expected to address when they're walking there? The other issue with that is the condition of the sidewalk is sometimes questioned, and then you have other impediments like tree plantings and other fixed permanent installations there. So it becomes quite a challenging spot. I also noticed, and I'm going to go back to what I was talking about before, which was in the regulations. So for example, in James's shop, his sign is nowhere near 10 square feet. He has a whole lot of potential for sign adapting, but I understand he's got a kind of discrete little appropriate graphic that makes a lot of sense. Whether that fully meets his needs as a business operator, that's something that he needs to consider, as well as what the sign code requires or expects, as well as what the community overall can live with comfortably. So there are a lot of different factors here, and I just think that finding a good spot, I think it's a combination, because I've noticed a lot of the folks that are talking, not that I know anything, but are not always familiar with what the sign code says. It says you can and can't do. And I just like people to be flexible and try to explore as much as possible, make this a real valuable working session as far as that goes. That's just my point. So sorry, guys, to talk so much.
Oh, no, that's okay. No, appreciate everybody's input. So when I get the Google Docs thing, I think for now I'm on the decision point, and it may make sense as a Google Doc, just like Chris put his comments into the copy of the law that is the current law. It may make sense for everybody to put their comments in. There's two ways to do it. People can all put their comments in, or we can just discuss point by point in the meeting. So it may be the Google Docs way could be the faster way to go. So we'll give that some thought. So for now, and my thought was, before we start actually updating documents, for now, I was interested in, if we want to be talking about sandwich boards now, and what we think do's and don'ts ought to be. Do we think a 100% prohibition is the way to go? Do we think it's okay to say it's okay to put a sandwich board on a lawn? Is that okay? Or it's okay to put it in next to a building in a big parking lot, just like what's happened in voting day on the community center? There was a sandwich board said, go this way to vote, because it was the back room in the community center. Do we want to say anything about sandwich boards for now? Or do we want to think about what we might want to say? And I will say my next availability for a meeting is going to be basically 4 weeks or so from now, because I am unavailable for 3 weeks.
Well, is it okay to say something now? Am I on mute? I'm not sure.
No, you're not on mute, Wendy. I can hear you.
I would be in favor of just talking about sandwich boards now. I mean, this is really why I'm in this meeting, is the other stuff I didn't, I really have never thought of any of this before. But the sandwich boards I'm thinking about, and it's an issue for me right now. So I would be in favor of just talking about that and finding out what everyone's actual thoughts are on that, because I know what my thoughts are on that. The rest of it, I don't really know exactly.
Okay,
Laura, perhaps could
Yes.
we go round robin on this? Because if you're not available for another week and this is the height of the season, it does slow our work. Obviously, we're not going to come to decisions quickly, but if anybody does have an opinion, maybe we can just go around the room.
Well, we can go around the room now about sandwich boards in particular, you're saying?
Yeah.
Sure. So sure, yes. So,
Laura,
the
can I
future-
ask you a couple of questions?
yes,
Because I know I missed the first meeting. It seems obvious from what I can tell, and I'm not a business owner in town, that the sandwich boards are effective. That's the given, right? Everybody knows that.
they're effective for businesses, yes. It's a
Well,
it's
I
a
know there's
double-edged
an
sword.
issue. I get all
Effective for-
the issues with the sidewalks, et cetera, but.
Yeah, it's a safety thing. Yes, it's effective for the businesses, but there's a safety question and concern.
Of course.
Yes.
And then you
Yes.
got the Complete Streets group that's been meeting, and you have issues with the sidewalks not being smooth and trip hazards and those kinds of things added to the whole discussion. So,
Right, and I invited Complete Streets, by the way. I reached out to Grace Murphy to see if anybody from Complete Streets wanted to be joining these calls, and I don't believe I've heard back from her. Anyway, she said she would let me know if anybody wanted to join, but I did ask if they wanted to have a representative here.
but
But
it
anyway.
seems like the nuances, for different businesses, it's quite clear that there's a number of businesses that are strongly behind having a sandwich board, and that it's affecting their livelihoods. And, that is the given, right?
Well, that's the given, but then again, and this is we're not going to make a final decision, implement it right away. We're going to discuss what we think the right decision ought to be. I'm sure we're going to need to have the lawyer review it, because we can't be putting trip hazards. We don't want to make the town of Woodstock liable for now causing trip hazards, because if the town of Woodstock is an important thing. And my analogy that I'll use is I work with the New York State DOT about crosswalks to say, well, everybody crosses here. Why don't we just put a crosswalk there? And they say, no, the DOT will only approve a crosswalk where they believe it's safe to cross. They're not going to put a crosswalk where it's not safe to cross, even if everybody crosses in a spot anyway. So similarly, the town of Woodstock, we need to make sure that we're not causing a town liability by whatever decision we make about sandwich boards, because if the town puts it in a law that now it's allowed, well, now if somebody trips over it and breaks their arm or worse, now the town of Woodstock is
Yeah.
going to be liable. So
Yeah.
yes, it certainly helps businesses. We have a lot of thinking to do to make sure we've done the due diligence. For us to say we're going to allow sandwich boards, we have to do a bunch of due diligence to make sure that, first of all, we're not causing a safety hazard, and secondly, we're not putting the town at risk for lawsuits.
Well,
No, I
Laura,
get that.
proceed-
I'm totally on board with that. I mean, I think the worst case scenario is that the concern is that every business puts a sandwich board out, and now you have changed the view and
Sure,
the
right.
shopping experience. Just so people understand my background, I was on the school board for 12 years. So I understand
Uh-huh.
about policies, and I was the chairman of the facilities committee there. So I do understand why this is a complicated discussion.
Right.
And procedurally, Laura, any proposed zoning revision would have to get run by Rod Futterfuss anyway, correct?
Well, I think most of them do. I think most of them do.
So I'm
Right.
wondering if we could maybe come like one way out temporarily, I sort of think about is there a way to, while all this is under review, to prohibit physical sandwich signs on the main street of sidewalks of Tinker and Millhouse and Rock City, and to allow them on lawns, parking lot, entrance, stoops, courtyards that are not the physical sidewalk, as just like a temporary thing for right now, because I feel like that kind of addresses most of the people's concerns I've heard from directly.
Well, so Wendy, if we did that, we're still not helping you, because you're on the second
He's on a
floor.
stoop.
I have a stoop in front. I
stoop.
have narrow, I have about a 12-inch sandwich
Right.
board. 12-inch wide. I
okay.
keep it on the stoop. It's not on the sidewalk. And so that's what I'm hoping to be able to maintain. It's not in anyone's way. No one's ever tripped over. People read it because they tell me, because I have some wording on there that they say when they come up the stairs, they indicate that they've read it.
The one
Because
thing
the
that
Go
this
ahead.
could also help out with is for the businesses that are like slightly off the main drag, like that alleyway next to my store, Deanie's Way or whatever it's called. Or is that the one that Joanna Bliss is?
Yeah,
I've only lived here for 25 years. I'm trying to get the names right. Anyways, but for those little roads, that maybe because they're not on the main drag, if you look down that little road, there could be a small sandwich sign that you'd see indicating there's a business down there that would make those people happy. Yet it's not right on the sidewalk of Tinker Street or Mill Hill where the main pedestrian crowds are, and that's also a state road, 212. I don't know. I was just trying to think of something that we could just kind of like go by while we keep discussing. And obviously the whole process of changing the zoning is, you know, a longer process, and just to try to address something for this summer, and especially things like lawns. And, you know, it's like, it just seems silly that Randy can't put a sign out on his own lawn, you know? So,
Yeah.
and maybe say, and also say one per business, you know, not to
Yeah.
make it crazy, you
Yeah.
know?
James?
Yeah.
Your point is very clear, and I like that. Even though I may agree or disagree with the actual concept in the long term. But Laura, would you be appropriate for James to put together a quick memo that you might be able to pass around through some knowledgeable people of the town and find out some sort of interim understanding that may or may not work for some of the businesses in town? My other comment is that we should make whatever guidance we have relative to signboards or that type of configuration, that it be for on-premises business operations, not for other types of advertising. Because let's say, for example, James, you want to get people who are shopping in front of Sunshine to come see you, you know, as long as they don't put the signboard, you know, or they put it on the lawn in front of the Woodstock.
Right, for your own particular business, it has to be.
You know what I'm getting at, because
That's true.
if we do have an interim understanding of what's appropriate for signboards, you know, this discussion has been more related to individual operators and individual efforts, you know, try to say I'm open for business, or my business is on the second floor, or my business is just down the alley, whatever that happens to be. That has a lot more logic to it than allowing signboards, and then people are just going to take advantage of that. You know, it's just going to become the next thing, and then we'll have to go back and reconsider. I really think in keeping in mind like you say, the permanent installation of the soup kitchen at the church is another example of where good intentions are not always working out in the right direction. And we don't want to discriminate against particular entities, people, or organizations, but the point being, it should be somewhat appropriate for the context that we find ourselves in, you know?
I mean, I think the one other thing this could maybe help with is, to me, the biggest struggles are, other than businesses that are off the main drag, is the west end of town, you know, and even probably the far east end of town possibly, have more trouble drawing the pedestrian crowd down to them, or letting them know we're open. And they have lawns, you know, a lot of them have, like, you know, space off the sidewalk, that putting a simple sandwich sign saying, you know, free ice cream today, you know, it's like, you know, is something that can really help them. And so, you know, because I used to have a business on the West End, and it was really, really hard to get anybody to, you know, realize you could just walk a little and find out who's open. But that wouldn't even be on the sidewalk, is my point.
Right. Laura, also on your language, when you say only allow for on-premise businesses, business owner present, remove sign when closed, maybe we should say business owner / employee, because just to put a fine point on it, sometimes there's a single person there who may be managing the business but not own it. See where you have business owner, you could just do owner / employee.
owner or operator could be another way of saying.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
man,
just say remove sign when closed. If it just say only allowing business open, remove sign when closed.
right,
So it's not saying who has to do it, but that's a good point.
right.
Laura,
Yes.
how do we enforce all of this that you're talking about? If it's a temporary sign or somebody in the back is allowed to put up a sign, who enforces the law about who's allowed to do it? Because
Well,
if
that's-
one business sees a sign that somebody's allowed to put up, what's to stop everybody else from putting their sign up?
well, if we say it's prohibited,
But who's going to enforce that?
We have a
Well-
zoning enforcement officer.
It's already being enforced.
Right, but you're talking about specifics, like the guy in the back of you alongside your business who wants to put up a sandwich sign saying they're open. So
yeah,
you're,
but we're
Yeah.
saying we're only going to allow it on lawns, courtyards, stoops, and parking lots. So our idea is to only allow it in these cases. So if somebody pops a sign right on the sidewalk on Tinker Street, we're not saying that we're allowing that. We're not advocating allowing somebody to pop a sign up on Tinker Street, but we're saying if they're going to put it on a lawn, if they have a lawn or a courtyard or a stoop, so it's not on the sidewalk, we're still prohibiting it on the sidewalks. Or if they have a parking lot, like House has a parking lot, maybe they want to put a sign. So that's what we're saying so far. So we're saying enforcement, the zoning enforcement officer would still enforce it, but we're saying here's the thought of how the sign law could change if people agree that we're not causing a safety issue, and if the lawyer agrees that we're not causing a safety issue.
okay,
So I'll add only if town lawyer agrees we are not causing.
Laura, can I jump back on another topic? I don't think you fully heard what I was trying to say.
Yeah, I think I might not have, but before you go,
Let me try to reiterate. I'm not going anywhere, but
I know, but before you go there, let me kind of finish this
Okay.
thought. That this whole thing that we're saying, even though people said it can take a while for a law to get approved, we could ask that there be a temporary, this could be a temporary plan. And the thought being that if this is a temporary plan, then even before the law gets approved, it may be a temporary guidance to the zoning enforcement officer to say, let's follow this guidance for the summer while we finalize the law. So this could be something that we could ask ZEO, and let me just add a note here. And then I'll go back to you, Chris. So just give me a second to get a note in here.
Yeah.
Ask
you and I are
ZEO.
talking about the same thing, so I'm going with that now.
Oh, okay, so just a sec, to enforce this. I'm gonna fix my typo in a minute. So, law.
I have a noon meeting I'm gonna have to duck out for in 6 minutes just to.
Okay, we're just moving.
Yeah, I'm
we're
gonna
moving
have
right
to
along.
leave too.
And I could always go back and forth on some of the language on this on an email, so.
Yeah, okay.
Let me
So,
jump in, because I want to specifically speak to James's earlier comment, which was, I do think that it would be appropriate, Laura, for you to explore what would be necessary to get a temporary, either a moratorium or direction from the town that would allow us to explore the appropriateness of some of the things that this group has discussed. And if anything, Laura, that you and whoever we can reach out to could try to make that a priority in the short term. And then as we continue to move forward to try to formalize some of these decisions, again, without compromising safety or other issues. I think, James, you summarized what you thought was the good ask, and I'd like you to maybe formalize that and send it to Laura.
Okay.
well, do we have it here, James? Do we have it here?
Look, hold on, sorry, I have 10,000 things open on my computer. Let's see.
So just reading the blue.
Yeah. Parking lots. Holding law, I'd definitely say one per business.
Yeah, one per business or for on premises businesses only.
Or maybe it's even, you might, yeah, exactly.
That was the part that was taken out earlier for
Yeah.
on premises. Yeah,
Just because I know some places can suddenly be like,
per
this is the
business.
biggest day of our summer, we're gonna put out 10 signs or something, and we don't want to like, get too like. Oh, yeah, hold
One
on.
per business and only at on premises, Laura,
Well,
meaning,
you said on premises, but when you, define what you mean by only on premises.
so if I'm running the bookstore, I only have a signboard for the bookstore at my location. I don't have 5 other businesses that have decided it'd be good to have a signboard at the bookstore
Elsewhere in town.
location because it's getting a lot of traffic.
One per business. So maximum one per business.
And the right language is on premises.
On premise,
And
yeah.
only on the premise
Of the business.
of that business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so did that capture it?
That's my understanding of what's important. James, anything else you want to add? Because I think we need.
Yeah, I think just the main thing is to kind of present this as this is, a temporary fix right now. I did see temporarily, yeah, just because we're gonna, of course, this doesn't like address fruition, which is unfortunate because I'm trying to sort of juggle all the people who've spoken up and I'm just trying to figure out how to address them, but this certainly addresses the majority of the people who've had issues. So I'm going to keep thinking about that, but I think this is a good start.
Well, we have a town board meeting tomorrow, so here's my schedule. And I always hate to say, oh, I'm going to be out, but I am going to be out. It is what it is. So my
Vacation,
schedule,
you can take a vacation.
well, it's a family, I have a family trip planned. It is what it is. So we have a town board meeting tomorrow. What I plan to do is talk with the supervisor and see if this can be something we do at the town board meeting tomorrow, that if this group is comfortable that this is what we want to do temporarily until the law update is permanent. Update, I changed my grammar here. If we're comfortable here to do this until the law update is permanent and say, do this temporarily, enforce it, we're still going to prohibit in the sidewalk. We have areas that will allow, that we've said maximum one per business and only on the premise of that business, only allow when the business is open, remove sign when closed, only if the lawyer agrees we're not causing a safety issue. If this is what we want to put in place temporarily over the rest of the summer, then if you all are in agreement that I ask the supervisor to see if we can get a resolution tomorrow on our town board meeting, then I will ask the supervisor to add this as a resolution tomorrow.
I think it covers a lot because I know that the main gripe I hear against the sandwich boards is really this visual idea of not just the safety, but this visual thing of the town not being cluttered like this. And so it does keep the main drag fully clear of signs right now. So I can't imagine they should complain about that because unless they're peering down every alley, it's like they're still seeing the visual being very, satisfying. So I'd hope that would make everybody a little happy and everybody a little not happy at the same time, however that always works.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
agree with James. I was also wondering if after that last bullet point, only if town lawyer agrees we are not causing safety issues, perhaps in parentheses, put something like 48-inch wide ADA compliance or something like that.
That's a
just
good
to
idea.
note
Well,
what
but we're-
is
but we're-
considered
but
a
we're
safety issue.
But we're not allowed it on any sidewalk.
No, what I'm saying is there are areas where a sidewalk is bigger than 48 inches. Like, for example, there are areas where the sidewalk width is greater than 48 inches because of a building indentation, for example.
But I think we're not going there yet. I think right now we're saying if it's a sidewalk, we're not recommending allowing that yet. But I hear what you're saying. There's a 48-inch.
Laurie, I think the word courtyard kind of covers that.
Okay.
I think courtyard to
I
me
see what you
means
said.
like the business right next to me, Woodstock Emporium, is set back and has this beautiful stone courtyard there with that nice little seating area, and it's lovely.
Right.
And if for some
right.
reason, there was a temporary sandwich sign put out there by the Woodstock Emporium saying, 50% off everything today, it doesn't impede the sidewalk, it's,
Right.
and he maintains that area really nicely. So I think he can use that if he wants to, but that's just my opinion.
Laura,
I
I would
understand.
also want to include what a signboard includes,
Oh, right, we need to do that, yes.
some kind of
Uh,
definition,
Yeah, what the size is and what all that is. Yeah.
exactly, some definition of that, a temporary thing, chalkboard, poster, permanently configure, whatever it happens to be, and it should be, not too heavy, not too light, not strapped down, not a trip hazard, whatever other factors are important.
Mm.
But I think unless somebody has a disagreement with it, I think this is a good issue to bring to the town board, Laura, and it
Right.
will be
Mhm.
appreciated, I think, by at least the people that are participating in this. I look forward to it is giving a test case where people can pursue this type of installation, and we'll know quickly whether it's successful or not successful.
Well, that's the truth, yeah.
Is it visually disagreeable? Is it circulation disagreeable? Does it have other, challenges that come up where people feel that it's being, whatever the general consensus might be, it gives us some feedback. As we move forward in the next couple of months, we'll have a better idea what is reasonable and realistic and what's not reasonable and realistic.
Okay. So
And that
before
we're still, in discussion with it. And so people can still suddenly say, wait a minute, I didn't hear about any of this, and I have my special need or something. So, it's still active, this is just sort of something to put in place for now to be able to go through the whole process.
And I would call it a test case as a basic idea.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that we're still hearing from people. So
Looking for feedback, looking for test
Yeah,
cases.
we are, because I just don't want somebody to suddenly call me saying, wait a minute, how did this get decided? And I'll be like, it's not decided. It's we're trying to
Everybody's against deciding, I know that for sure.
yeah, we just got to take it day by day here and kind of move forward. And then, maybe this will just sort of solve it all and we'll be done. So,
Okay. Okay, so I know we're losing people in like 2 minutes ago, and they're still
yeah,
here.
2
Thank
minutes
you.
ago.
So does this time work for meetings? Because what I would actually do is our next meeting, unfortunately, would be probably August 14th, because I'm, that's the Mondays. I might be available on August 7th, but I'm not guaranteed to be available. So I don't want to book a meeting and not be available. So do we want our next meeting to be August 14th at the same time? Is that a happy time for people?
That
Or
works for me, I think.
I can do it.
so
I'm not-
August,
On Mondays, really. I came back early today to be here.
Yeah,
But,
I have a conflict.
I mean,
that
if we're doing it on Zoom, it makes it a little more flexible, but if anyone has a conflict, I'm flexible other times.
well, so what days and times would people rather? Because I think we had a heck of a time getting time that people could do this. So I appreciate that, Linda, that you come back for it.
I have to check out, but I wanted to say that I'm fairly flexible, but this time works for me. So,
Yeah.
but I am flexible.
And
I'm
I'm-
sorry, I have to check
I'm
out
not
now.
free until 5 o'clock that Monday, the 14th.
Okay, well, I mean, I hate to say push that to the 21st, because now we're really
No,
out to,
I understand.
Could we do
Yeah.
5 o'clock on Monday, the 14th?
well, I will say 5 o'clock. I have a zoning revision committee meeting at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
So for me, it would be boom, boom. But hey, it'd
What
be-
We could try
about- what about-
4:30,
What about the 15th?
Oh, 4:30, you want to try, well, the 15th is gonna be a town board meeting.
All right,
Um,
16th, Wednesdays?
So, what
When-
says, but 4:30 might be a possibility. Linda, can you do 4:30 on August 14th, the Monday?
If it's a Monday, not really.
4:30, okay, because so you're working, I mean, not to ask a personal question, but are your kids running the restaurant now, or that you're really as active as you ever were?
No, all summer I'm in Lake George. So I come home on Tuesday and Wednesday. That's it. But I came early. So I could
Oh,
be
oh,
here.
you can't, so you
Can
can't
you
Zoom,
Zoom?
you can't Zoom from Lake George?
You can
I
Zoom
guess
from
I
your
can.
phone.
Up where we're staying, the Wi-Fi is intermittent. I could take a chance and try it.
You can do it from your phone.
I know, I do it from my phone anyway. It's
Okay.
just,
Well,
Sometime-
can people do a Tuesday? Can people do a Tuesday Zoom? Is there a time of day that's good during the day on Tuesdays for people?
I'm
'Cause-
open.
For that
This-
week, I could
is-
do it from my car because I'll be traveling, but I could definitely do it. But I'm driving to Cincinnati on Tuesday, the 15th, but I could,
And you-
it's a 10-hour drive, so I could do it from the car.
Well, I'm definitely going to be home August 8th, which is also a Tuesday. So can people do sometime August 8th?
I could do
Yeah.
it on the state.
I could do that.
Yeah,
So everybody can do August 8th. And does anybody care what time we go on August 8th? Do we like
Early the
August
better.
8th?
Earlier the
11
better.
I prefer
Early
earlier
better.
myself, but
Does August 8th at 11 o'clock work for everybody?
Why not
Yes.
10 o'clock? Why not 10 o'clock?
Oh, it could be 10 o'clock. You like,
could do
10
10.
well, you like 10 o'clock?
I can do
Do,
Oh.
10.
do people like August 8th at 10 o'clock?
I
Yes.
can do that.
Okay, but because Linda, I can tell you, I understand vacation, and when you're away, like you say, like George, yeah, thank you so much for cutting your time, early today to be here. But I don't want you to have to make a habit of that because you
I
you
would-
deserve that.
World, if I don't have to.
Yeah. So I'm just checking my calendar just to make sure that hang on a sec. Hold a second. And it just takes me 1 second to check my calendar. I just want to make sure, as I agree to this meeting, that I actually am available. But I think that would be lovely, actually. Yes, so 10 o'clock is perfect. So we're a wrap. Our next meeting is August 8th at 10 o'clock in the morning. And I will talk with Bill and negotiate how he feels. Now, the only thing that we didn't say was a sandwich board maximum. Does anybody know anything about sandwich boards to know how big the sandwich board?
They're all usually same size.
And that's what I mean. Does anybody know what a sandwich board size usually is?
The maximum height should be 4 feet.
Right.
Okay,
Maximum width should be 24 to 30 inches. Let's say 30 inches.
Right here in the office. Let me measure it.
oh, cool.
Probably 24, I think, most of them.
24 usually.
I'm sorry, so Linda's gonna,
24 by 1.
I'm sorry, tell me again, Linda, what was it? 4 feet high?
41 inches high,
Right.
4 inches wide.
How
Yeah.
many 24 inches wide? Well, so
Yep.
if we said 4 feet high to 30 inches wide, then it could be, people could have slightly larger than that.
4 feet high is almost as tall as me. That's pretty tall.
Well, if someone wants to not fold it out all the way, it's going to be taller.
Yeah, they drop
oh,
down.
well,
When
that-
you
well,
fold
that-
them out, when you
Yeah.
fold them, they become lower.
Well,
Okay.
that's, when you fold it out. So I think, so my thought is, if yours is 41 inches high, if we said 48, we're only 7 inches higher and, somebody might already have something that's not a standard size. If we say 30 inches wide, it's only 6 inches wider than 24. So I'm thinking if we say 4 feet high, 30 inches wide, but do we need to say anything about how wide it is when it's stands?
When you buy one, they usually come in a standard size,
Mhm.
2 feet, and then you go
Come on
2
now.
feet
8 inches high.
with a 2 foot wide footprint would also work, Laura.
So
And
that's,
that's usually what they are.
Yeah.
so, okay.
so on Uline, I just went and clicked sandwich sign and it says 24 inch by 36. That just was the immediate one that came up. Here's
the
another
foot-
one on
the footprint
Uline.
needs
It's
to be-
24 by 36 seems to be just the basic.
Yeah.
So
Footprint is 24 inches by 24 inches.
yeah, that seems to be all these I'm clicking on Google, I'll say like that basic. So if you're a little higher than that, you're fine.
Yeah, well, so Linda is 41 inches, so I don't want Linda to not be able to use hers.
Oh, no. I mean, I know. I just was saying that the general ones, if somebody wanted to go out and buy one today, it seems to fall under that.
But if we said 48 by 30, even though the standard is 36 by 24,
Gives a little flexibility in case somebody builds something themselves and they don't realize it has
Yeah.
to be exactly this
Right.
big. It's not oversized, it's not undersized, it's a maximum of, so, the cardboard, I mean, the chalkboard versions are often smaller than that.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
but if we said 48 inches by 30 inches, we're not somebody's not gonna come screaming and say, well, yeah, you put this temporary law in to help businesses and ours is just a little bigger than what you said. So if we said 48 inches high, 30 inches wide, I guess my thought is the standard will be lower than that, but we're not, because we're only allowing it not on a sidewalk anyway. So
Right.
Yeah, that's a good
No
idea.
one's intolerant.
Right.
We're not
Gonna be way
excluding anything.
I'm sure people are talking all at once. I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna type this in and then we'll argue it in a minute.
Right.
Sandwich board, maximum size.
Thank you, Laura. Have a nice vacation. I gotta run.
Bye,
Oh.
James.
Thank you. Thanks for
James.
everything, James. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And thanks everybody else who's hanging in here while we're just getting this final thing done. 48 inches. Max, I'll fix my typo in a minute. With 30 inches. So we're just, no trip hazard is going to be its own thing. No trip hazard. And then we don't have to say anything because when you, that's the, whoops, sorry. This is the height of the height of the board itself is 48 inches, maximum width 30 inches. But then the width is also, it's a 3D thing. So when you fold it out, it's, you know, I don't know whether it probably, so Linda, since you have a sandwich board, when
Folded
you
out, it's 2 feet.
fold it out is 2 feet. Okay. Is that like a standard thing? Because when you buy a sandwich board, it only folds out so far, right? It's not, it doesn't go to 180 degrees. It
Right.
probably maximum for how far.
The 48 and the 40-inch one is gonna be higher, so it's gonna have a wider stance.
That's my thought. So if we say the stance, if the stance can only be 24 inches, but a stance, the standard board has its own stance, right? You buy a sandwich board and it's got its own
Yeah.
stance.
Make it 36, that'll be more than enough.
In on it, that holds it out.
I'm sorry, what's that, Linda?
This one has a chain and it can only go out
Oh,
so
a
far.
chain.
And
Okay.
it stays, they have stays on it so that they limit the amount they can go out.
Right.
Right.
So the maximum opening is 30 inches, right? So we say, and we're expecting maximum, I'd say,
Goes
Back-
out like 2 feet. This one probably goes out like 24 inches
yeah.
Right.
on the A.
So make it 36 and you should have no issues in the future.
That's great. That's a big, as long as it's not on the sidewalk, 36 inches is pretty.
Yeah, that's a big,
Well, if
That's the
somebody
max.
made one 30 by 48, that would be a
That's
big.
a maximum. You're not, just
Be big.
a general
well,
idea.
I was gonna say, well, here's what I was gonna say, and then you can tell me I'm wrong. And my thought is to say maximum footprint. The width of the board itself is 30 inches, but the maximum footprint, 30 inches by 30 inches.
It'll work. That'll be 99% of the boards.
Right, and if somebody, because if you have a 48 inch thing, well, I don't know how,
It will probably open a little wider in order to hold it steady.
well,
it's-
so I say maximum, I go to 36 because we don't want anything falling over. Maximum opening width.
That's, as long as it's not, I mean, if that was on the sidewalk, it would take up a whole sidewalk.
Well, it would, but we're not allowing it on the sidewalk. So,
Do it.
um,
You have to think about it.
so we're kind of saying, if you got a 4-foot sign, you can have, it can be open 36 inches. It can only be 30 inches wide, but it can be open 36 inches.
Right. That's
yeah.
pretty, that's a lot. That's
So
36.
it is a lot. So we're, and like we say, this temporary plan is a test case.
Right.
And we'll see what the reactions are.
I mean, you could put the
So-
words, you could put the word suggested in front of the sandwich board if you want to give the board. If you want them to discuss the size or not, if they're going after this.
Well, I don't think that, you mean discuss at a town board meeting. I don't think the town board is gonna
We'll just
have,
have a resolution that'll have it written out, right?
true,
Well, you
Um,
got the maximums, so it would fall within that.
correct. Correct. So as we say, Linda's is 41 inches high, and that's why I went with the 48 is just in case another business owner has it a little higher. maximum width 30 inches, hers is 24. We're allowing a little bit wider, maximum opening 36. Unless, I mean, we can just, I don't know, we can go 3 feet. I know I'm kind of changing things on the fly here, but you know, this way we're saying your footprint can be 36 inches by 36 inches. But if you're having it on a lawn, then what the heck? So that's kind of my thought is it's not going to be a trip hazard anyway, because we're not allowing it on a sidewalk.
Okay.
So, so that's kind of what I wound up with, because now the footprint is
Okay.
36 by 36.
My question is how many businesses on Tinker Street have that type of a situation where they can put it on a lawn? Most of them are directly on the sidewalk or in the back. So it would have to be on the sidewalk. They're
Or on a
looking for
stoop.
some kind of a relief right now.
On a
But
stoop.
all of these businesses are definitely just on the sidewalk. There's very few that have a lawn in front of them.
We're not
No,
really helping too many
They can
people, is
put
what
it,
you're
you
saying.
can put it on the stoop according to these suggestions.
But how many
Oh.
people do?
Well, or for example, like with Melissa Gibson, she had hers folded flat and leaning against her building. So
Right.
it, you know, it was not a trip hazard, but it was visible.
Do we have that in
But
this?
So
on the-
at that point, it's flat on the building
It's
it's
better than nothing.
so that it can fall over.
No, she was leaning.
Becomes,
It was at an angle. It wasn't completely 90 degrees upright.
Again, she may be able to put in a sign, a permanent sign or a temporary sign that's in the same position without even having any issues with the sandwich board configuration, you know?
Well, the code that you were referring to before, I looked it up, you're allowed to put a 2 by 2 foot sign in your window if you had a window.
yes.
Yeah, so, and the reason why, if I think you're looking at my screen, I'm pulling my calculator out because we do have the 10 by 10. So I'm rethinking the numbers here because it'd be nice to keep it within the 10 square feet.
Mhm.
Right,
The
so
10
that's 2 foot by 5 feet, which is
That
quite.
you got 12 right there.
Exactly, which is why I think I do want to reduce it back again. So that's my, the method to my madness. So if we go, so 30 inches, so if we do 4 feet by 2.5, I'm going back to the 30 inches wide, is 10 square feet. So we're back to the 30 inches and now that's the 10 square feet. So if we had the maximum width is 30 inches, then we're still within the 10 square feet, which is good.
You wouldn't necessarily have, you could just put it that way with a total of 10 square feet, maximum footprint, and then total.
Oh, well, there you go. Isn't that a good idea?
You understand? So you could go a little higher and a little wider if you needed to,
Right.
but that's just a matter of keeping it within 10 square feet, which is 10 square feet X. And is that 2 sides or 1 side?
Well, that's the problem. You got 2 sides now.
Well, you
So
do
that-
have 2 sides now. 10 square feet per side. I mean, a sandwich board is a 2-sided thing. So if we allow sandwich boards, we have to, have to be realistic about it. Okay. Because we're at maximum size, maximum area. Okay, so good point. Sandwich board maximum area is 10 square feet per side. And then we take out the maximum width because,
No, you want to indicate, you want to have maximum width still, Laura.
well, no,
Yeah.
because we just said you can have it 10 square feet per side. So maybe your sandwich board is
All right,
shorter,
all
it can
All
be
right, that'll
wider.
be flexible. Okay, that's fine.
Wide though.
Well,
No,
you may be 6 feet high, a foot wide. That's what I would do. That's,
Oh, I see. Well, okay. So we still keep those maximum in.
yeah,
10 square
they're
feet.
practical. They're practical. They make sense.
Okay. With,
said,
and you're right, somebody could do something dangerous.
I think take this, if you took the 10 square feet per side out and just put the measurements, I think it would be better.
The
I
10
kind
square
of think
feet
it makes more
refers
sense.
to-
Laura, Yeah.
Yeah, the square footage is good to have because different manufacturers may vary by an inch here or there.
But that's only an inch here or there. 10 square feet, like he said, he could do it 1 by 9.
Well, I'm saying both, the way she has it.
Right.
I think that's good. Width of
Well-
40 inches. Like what Laura has typed now.
One more what?
I think, no, what you have typed now is appropriate, just like that.
Yeah, okay. So we've said we have a maximum area side 10 square feet, but you can't go over 48 inches because you're totally right. If it's 6 feet tall, it would fall over. Maximum width is 36 inches. Maximum footprint is 36 inches by 36 inches.
Okay.
So, but you can't go over, even though your maximum width could be 36 inches, you can't have a height of 48 inches then, because then you're
Or over 10, yeah.
go over 10. So, and I'm a, it's easier to see all this stuff if it's not. There you go. Maximum air, we try to cover maximum area, maximum height, maximum width, maximum footprint. So, no trip hazard placement. Yeah, I do thank everybody who's hanging in here. So, because we are running beyond our hour. So, we've got area, height, width, footprint.
I would mention someplace pedestrian safety is a focus.
Would you have to,
How
much pizza? Oh, slice. You can have a glass.
okay. So how are we feeling about all this?
I feel good.
Okay, so I will ask Bill whether we can, again, ask the CEO to enforce this temporarily, because it's a temporary thing to try. And safety is a focus, safety is a priority. I say focus and priority. Okay. Okay, and we know we're meeting next. We're meeting on August 8th at 10 a.m. and everybody can do that. And that is a wonderful thing. And very, very cool. Anything else we should talk about today?
Nope, I'm good.
So
Yeah,
we're
Laura.
moving, we're moving right along. So
Thanks.
John, you've been a quiet visitor. Do you have any thoughts you would like to share? I know I see him looking for the, yay.
No, thank you, Laura. I really appreciate the meeting, and no, I have nothing to share. Thanks very much.
Okay, well, do you feel like we're causing any issues?
You're a
Yeah.
half hour over. I don't know that you want to hear my opinions on sandwich board signs. I don't want to do
Oh,
that.
go.
But thank you for the offer.
Am I going to hear about him in Hudson Valley 1?
No, I'll give you a call. How's that?
Oh, that's perfect. Do you have
Good.
my number?
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Perfect. That would be lovely.
Thanks.
But thank you, and thank you, John, because I know you care about so many things about town. I appreciate that you're here. And we have a mystery guest on the bottom with a phone number who I do not know who that person is, but that person could speak up if they choose, but not if they choose not to. So, all right. So anything else before we adjourn?
Thank you very much, Laura. You've done a great
Thank you.
job.
Well, you all have been wonderful with your feedback. Everybody's contributed, and that's the best way to be.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thanks all.